Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
We're in Way Media. Welcome back, Midnight viewers, to Father Malone's Weekly Roundup. I'm Father Malone, and with me, with one paw in the grave, is Miss Ripley Jean. How are you, you young cheater of death? Nonplussed by the concept of mortality. What a good girl you are. We got death on the brain here at the Roundup. Thanks once again to the Rube Goldberg villain of all time, the Final Destination films. But before that, the business. We've got a 3-way battle for musical episode going on right now. The contenders, American Pop, Little Shop of Horrors, and The Singing Detective. That is the 7-hour British miniseries I encourage you to vote for, hoping that it would make frequent collaborator HP tremble, and it did. He does not want to do The Singing Detective. I would encourage you to vote for it more, but things are looking grim for 2 of our entries. One is pulled way ahead. It's obviously Little Shop of Horror. It's obvious we've all seen it, and it's obvious we all love it. Or do we? Voting is still open. Hell, it's not too late to throw in another contender if you're so inclined. Let me know. At Father Malone on the socials. That's where you're most likely to find me. But don't forget, fathermalone71@gmail.com for everything else. Or something else. I don't know. Hit me up. Vote for a musical. Tell me I'm wrong about something. Request a future film. Go there. Links in description. That's what the podcasters say. And now, a returning segment, because it was so much fun last week. In honor of Fangoria Magazine's Terror Teletype, their column regaling you with upcoming releases, we present once again, The Frightening Fax Machine. I'm well documented at this point with my feelings about nostalgia. I fucking hate it. At least the preponderance of it. I look back on my life with plenty of fond memories. Who doesn't? And there are times when our past seems way more palatable than our present. But the way some people armor themselves with the iconography of their youth is just a little square. A little sad. Which is nothing to say for the nostalgia industry that's sprung up over the past 30 years. When I was a kid, to get a piece of merchandise from a film you loved was nigh impossible. Obviously, if Star Wars was your thing, you were golden. In fact, anything that came out geared toward kids was going to have some level of toy or t-shirt or memento that you could hold in your hot little hands. No one could claim Jaws was for kids, but I had a board game that featured a giant plastic shark with a hinged jaw connected by rubber bands. You'd have to take things out of his mouth like a wagon wheel and hope it didn't snap shut. That was officially licensed. But where was my action figure of Captain Blake, the murderous ghost from John Carpenter's The Fog? Well, he's standing on my microphone right now, because at some point, someone figured out that we were all denied our idiosyncratic goodies, and there's a lot of money to be made in that regard. Yes, I am guilty of trafficking in a mild form of nostalgia, but I don't want to live back then. Right now is the best time and always has been. Yes, even in this fucked up timeline, everybody. I bring up nostalgia because I couldn't help but feel the way I did at 5 years old, standing outside a theater in Danvers, Massachusetts, staring at a giant S emblazoned on a movie poster for a cinematic experience that was about to blow my young mind. Of course, we're talking about Superman. James Gunn's Superman, the savior of the DC universe, maybe the savior of Warner Brothers Pictures. Certainly feels that way. Seems like once upon a time, a movie that had gone wildly over budget and out of control was the only one that could make or break a studio. We miss you, United Artists. That movie, Heaven's Gate by Michael Cimino, the one that destroyed United Artists, it is a terrible film. There's been a reevaluation of it, and people have convinced themselves otherwise, but they're wrong. It is not good. It is boring as fuck. Do you know that they built an entire western town, and then Cimino said the road wasn't quite wide enough? And when they went to tear down half of the town to rebuild it a few feet back, he told them no, tear down both sides and move them equidistant. That's the kind of shit that should destroy a studio, not the fucking Man of Steel. Why is so much freighted on our Kryptonian friend Kal-El? Money men and middle management, of course. Okay, you know what? I am nostalgic for the days of Jack Warner and people who gave a shit about movies, that understood it was a business but recognized the value of the show. Boy, you don't have to remind anyone of the opposite anymore. You know, there's a business to this show. Yeah, we all fucking get that now. Wouldn't it be great if someone in charge of getting movies made was actually interested in entertaining you first? I suppose that's what James Gunn is. I'm not the biggest fan of that guy. I think he delivers solid, medium entertainment, with hints of greatness and humanity here and there, don't get me wrong. Although he'll forever be tainted with attempting to have Nicole Perlman's name taken off of that Guardians of the Galaxy script. That plot, that story, those characters, and that configuration, Nicole Perlman. The Walkman, that's James Gunn. Anyway, they should have put him and partner Peter Safran in charge of the whole company and not just DC, because no matter what moves they're making creatively, they've still got the specter of David Zaslav hanging over them, ready to cut a few more corners and shave off another slice of the once great home of James Cagney and Raoul Walsh and Clint Eastwood and Don Siegel and fucking Stanley Kubrick. Anyway, Superman. Yes, I got the chills when John Williams' score kicked up in the latest and final trailer for the flick. Overall, it seems very exciting. Not just the action, which looks great, but in the scope and scale of the film. The fact that he's managed to introduce Crypto the Superdog, and we're all cool with it, is a real achievement. That may be owing to the time we live in and how acclimated we've become to shared universes, but still, not only Crypto, but there's a Green Lantern and a Hawk Girl and Metamorpho and a bunch of other characters you've never heard of. That suit has grown on me. I dig that Kingdom Come S emblem on the chest. Everyone looks great. Lois actually behaving like a journalist is pretty great. And Gunn is reliable when it comes to the intimacy of his characters. He never lets an epic film let the epic overwhelm the other aspects of his films, and hopefully that will continue here. Couldn't be more excited for Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. A long, thin Lex that is just as fearsome as our hero. I'm totally down. And I hope this movie does all the business. Because I want it to do well, but really because I love Warner Brothers and I'm hoping it will survive. But I'd also be curious to see how Gunn handles the films going forward. We've never had a decent Brainiac. And this Superman seems cosmic as fuck, so fingers crossed. You know what? I don't think we've ever gotten a truly great Superman film. For me, Superman 2 is as close as you're going to get, and at the same time, that movie is as wonky as hell. We packed a chamber to take with you, just in case you feel like removing your superpowers. It can also give them back to you, even after the crystal technology that drives it exploded all over the place. And then it can turn the entire room into a superpower removal chamber while protecting the occupant. Don't even get me started about the Saran Wrap S. How did that happen? Who thought, you know what, Superman doesn't have enough distinct powers. Let's make him make plaster of Paris copies of himself. What do you think, listeners? Is there a Superman you swear by? A Lex you love? Hit me up and let me know. Everything since Superman 2 is garbage. There, I said it. What else we got? The new trailer for Ballerina came out. That's the newest spin-off for the John Wick franchise. This one stars Ana de Armas and Gabriel Byrne and that greasy fucker Daryl from The Walking Dead. What's his name? Hygiene McGee? No, that can't be it. Well, he's in it. And I'm sure what is a quick scene at the beginning is an appearance by John Wick himself, Keanu Reeves. The movie seems to have the snappiness of the Wick movies, and it's got flamethrowers. Always welcome. Here's a film franchise I stopped actually caring about after the first film, but I found that spin-off series, The Continental, to be a fucking hoot. I think I may have even covered it here on one of the early episodes of the Roundup. So here's hoping, without the weight of Mr. Wick and all the various secret societies and agendas and endless enemies, that this will be a good film. Ballerina is out at the end of June. Spike Lee is back with Denzel Washington. Their new film, Highest to Lowest. Great-looking trailer. Can't tell you one fucking thing about what the story is. Lots of cop cars bombing around New York, subways, guns, money. I don't know what it's about. I don't care. Sign me up. Elsewhere, Joe Kosinski, director of Top Gun Maverick, is back with Brad Pitt in F1, a film about Formula One racing that I will wait to watch when I'm at home. I don't care how violently the IMAX speakers are going to rumble your seat or how you really need to see it on the big... No, I don't. I subscribe to George Carlin's take on NASCAR when it comes to racing movies. Driving around for 8 hours in a circle does not impress me. Elsewhere, I think we can conclusively say that the Coen brother who drove all of their crime features is Ethan. God bless you, Ethan. You've always been my favorite. He's following up his inaugural solo effort, the irreverent crime drama Drive Away Dolls, with another irreverent crime drama, Honey Don't. Both films starred Margaret Qualley, but joining her here are Aubrey Plaza, Charlie Day, and as a cricket evangelist, Captain America himself, Chris Evans. Both films are co-written by Trisha Cook, who just happens to be Mrs. Ethan Coen, and has been his editor since Lebowski. I know they cut their movies under the pseudonym Roderick Janes, but you know she was doing the actual splicing while they paced around and bounced balls off the floor. Okay, anyway, moving along. Boy, everything's a franchise these days. But the vanguard when it comes to multiplicity in cinema has always been horror. For every James Bond, there's a Freddy and a Jason. For every Rocky, there's a Leatherface and a Pinhead. Skywalker family, please meet Candyman and Chucky and his lovely bride. Also, give Michael Myers the glad hand while you're at it. Don't mind him, he's shy, not mute. We think. The explosion of horror franchises came during the slasher boom of the 70s and the entirety of the 1980s. I named quite a few just now. And with them came the undeniable points of connection. At their heart, a group of young people facing some new life or new challenge are picked off one by a killer, masked or otherwise. The killer's motive and modus are irrelevant, but there is a killer, and our protagonists will fight their way through the length of the picture, regardless of how long the span of time passes on screen, till either all of them are dead, or way more likely, a sole survivor remains. Any innovation on that formula has been purely in plot or character arcs. Oh, this guy shows up in your dreams. This one's inside a puzzle box and will drag you to hell. Doesn't matter. One by one, they hunt and kill our heroes, beginning, middle, and end. And there wouldn't be any true innovation to the genre until the late 1990s. Not so fast, Scream franchise. Pointing out tropes while acting them out doesn't alter the formula one fucking bit. No, the true pioneer when it comes to slasher movies started out as a spec script for The X-Files. Jeffrey Reddick, the creator of the whole series, was trying to get a TV agent, and his favorite show was X-Files, so he cooked up a spec script about a recent article he'd read about a woman who'd been warned not to board a plane, which later crashed. He never submitted to Chris Carter, convinced the idea merited its own feature, scaling the adults' characters down to high school seniors. But the X-Files will not be denied. More specifically, my favorite writers on the show, and actually my favorite television writers of all time, Glenn Morgan and James Wong, they cut their teeth on 21 Jump Street, yo. They were into Johnny Depp way before any of you. They created one of the best sci-fi shows of the 90s, Space Above and Beyond, which I've covered in a previous episode if you'd like to check that out. And they shepherded my favorite season of television of all time, Season 2 of Millennium, Chris Carter's sister series to The X-Files. They also made a bunch of movies. Some of them are very, very good. About half of them. And then there's some middling, and then there's Chun-Li Street Fighter. with Lana Lang from Smallville. Morgan and Wong had come off X-Files and Space Above and Beyond and Millennium, and another failed pilot for a gangster show that had 7 families, each based on the 7 deadly sins, which sounds fucking amazing. And they were looking to get into features when this script, which originated years prior as an attempt at X-Files, found its way into their expert X-Files hands. They retained the basic setup, jettisoning basically everything else, and injected the entire affair with a sense of melancholy and dread consistent with teenage grief. And while Jeffrey Reddick had death as an actual figure that speaks and acts and actually kills the teens, it was Morgan and Wong who came up with the first true innovation in slasher films since those idiots decided to go back to the summer camp. They made their villain, death itself, invisible, reinforcing death's inevitability from the get-go. You can't fight it if it's not there. And because of that, they created the franchise's signature, the Rube Goldberg death. Everyday objects, so safe on their own, once put in motion and in tandem, will result in a grisly death for all. This, of course, after the major catastrophe that begins each of the films. Let's be honest, that's really how we tell them apart. Plane crash, logging truck, roller coaster, NASCAR, and suspension bridge. All relatable to varying degrees. I'm not going to see F1, so the likelihood of me going to a NASCAR event are fucking slim to none, but I've been near massive machines so close that they might kill you. And we've all been on planes or on roads with perilous-looking cargo trucks. If you find Final Destination 2 really got under your skin, then the Pacific Northwest is not for you. Or we've all driven over a bridge that gives you vertigo, no matter how far from the edge your vehicle. So what have they concocted for us this time? In our latest entry in what is arguably my favorite horror franchise of the past 25 years, and the first film in the franchise since 2011. 14 long years. They've done it again. Who can't relate to partying at a supper club on top of a Space Needle with a glass dance floor? In the 1960s.
Family. You don't get to pick the one you get. Just gotta love the one you got.
I always knew this day would come.
I got it.
I don't think you got it.
I held him off for years.
Charlie! Get up here!
He's a relentless son of a bitch. Won't stop till he finishes the job. Death is coming for our family.
I said, oh, 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 oh,
Grandma, what's happening to us?
Years ago, I had a premonition that started it all. I saw what death was about to do. I saved a lot of lives that night.
Everyone needs to get off the dance floor!
Lives that were never meant to be saved. But death doesn't like it when you mess with his plans.
This book, it will show you everything you need to know to keep our family safe.
It all started with Grandma. Death is coming for us because we were never supposed to exist. Watch out!
Only by embracing death will it pass you by.
Maybe Death's not actually coming for our family. Because that would be crazy.
Good luck.
When I think back on all the time I wasted in my youth in Space Needles, dancing on glass dance floors in the 60s. Look, I'm not saying they shouldn't do a period piece. I love a period piece. I thought this whole film was going to be a period piece. But honestly, how many layers of separation do you want with the audience? This whole scene may as well have taken place on Moonbase Alpha. It's beautifully photographed and expertly designed. I loved the actors, but I don't know. Is it NASCAR bad? Fuck no. This ranks above NASCAR easily. And if I'm going to rank them, this film, Bloodlines, not to bury the lead, but is definitely better than NASCAR and Plane Crash. But is it better than Logging Truck and Roller Coaster? No. Rip's pick will give you the best of the series. This is in the middle overall. It isn't one step forward, two steps back. It's more like hopping in place. For every groovy new idea they introduce, there's some ham-handed plot contrivance or lamentable dialogue. In fact, whatever your preference of any of the Final Destination films, rewatch them all. Tell me Morgan and Wong's don't have the best characters and the best dialogue. Hands down. I said hands down. Pause, too. One of those ideas, in this film, is that the survivor saved everyone, which is like a couple of hundred people, and those people married and had kids. So now it's taken Death 50 years to catch up with its initial survivor and her family. And because the path of destruction is so clearly marked, father to son to grandson, etc., there's no need for our leads to fumble around looking for clues as to who's next, which is pretty fucking great. But that bumps up against the only good thing about NASCAR, which was that if you eluded death during a disaster, you weren't allowed to die until death got to you in its own time and pattern. McKelty Williams tries to kill himself multiple times and can't. So how does that jibe with a lineage? Does that mean your kids can't die before you? Maybe it's not contradictory and is a possible tributary to explore in future flicks. Nevertheless, there aren't that many rules to this universe, so adherence is key. I can't forgive the Terminator franchise for stating so implicitly that the time machine can only send living tissue to our present. Then in the next film, they sent a liquid metal robot. But this film does hold up other films' precedents. This one's a bit more hopeful than others in that it teases that Kimberly Corman, from the logging truck, she continues to live, though Hal might be a bit slippery in the morality department. We'll see more on that in future films, I'm guessing. Also, we're given an extended family instead of fellow survivors here. In fact, none of the characters are involved in the initial catastrophe at all. And there are some reasons to really admire that, particularly with Cousin Eric, the tattoo nose-ringed fellow you've no doubt spied in the trailer for what happens to that nose ring. That's not a spoiler, it's in the trailer and it's on the poster. His character goes through the only real personal turmoil in the entire flick. He's great, by the way, played by Richard Harmon, who was weirdly in a Smallville episode about an exploding plane, but also did really great work on the show The Killing. Remember that, with Joel Kinnaman? Love that series. And he's Captain Boomerang in the Arrowverse. The other great performance in this film, the fucking jewel of a performance, comes from Raya Kilstedt as our lead's mom. She is great here. I had no idea I was already a fan of hers, but she's the fourth sister in the Obi-Wan series and Tales from the Empire, and she had a great run on Dexter back in the day. The kills? Like the rest of the film, they're middling. I will say that CGI gore has gotten really good. There are moments watching people come apart where it all becomes like just so many more pieces of a Rube Goldberg machine. Gears, cogs, skulls, femurs. It's very heady for an old gorehound to see some of it done this well. I'm a sucker for practical, but practical can suck just as bad as lame digital effects, let's be honest. I think Bloodlines opens the franchise up to greater possibilities, which is exactly what a sequel ought to be doing. It's doing pretty well, so I hope we get more. And we get some folks in there who can make things more relatable. That's the engine that drives this series. I've never been pulled into a madman's nightmare world, but I have boiled a kettle next to a very sharp knife. Much like Kristen Cloak in The Plane Crash. And that's the thing. The more outlandish kills are warranted in each of the films. You gotta top the last one. But enough with the explosions. That's all I'm gonna say. If for no other reason, you should see Bloodlines in theaters to honor the specter that looms over the entire franchise. Death may not make an appearance in any of the movies, but his assistant certainly does, Mr. Tony Todd. This is his last big screen role, and he does not disappoint. But you'll be disappointed in yourself if you don't go. What about you, Ripley? How do you rate this flick? Not enough dogs. There were dogs at the barbecue. Not enough of them. Okay, hit it, HP.
Come and listen to a dog that's hip. Here we go, it's Rip Picks, yeah!
Thank you, HP. Call a cab and take the tape of tonight's show straight to the Museum of Broadcasting. So, what is it, little girl? Which destination is final? Which reigns bloody supreme? Logging truck or roller coaster? You're fucking right. Good girl. Roller Coaster is the best film in the franchise. Shove it. I don't care. I gave the email address and the Insta handle. I like that logging sequence and the crushed flat sequence. Beyond that, I do not care for those characters, and I do not care if they live or die. Final Destination 3, on the other hand, with the return of series originators Glenn Morgan and James Wong, is the high mark of the series. These guys have understood exactly what these movies are from the get-go. There's no villain, making it pure thrill ride. And why not take that to its logical conclusion with a fucking theme park, and a fucking roller coaster, and a group of high school seniors ready to take the horrifying leap into adulthood. Plus, it has the series' strongest lead performance by Mrs. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Is Ewan McGregor a Final Destination touchstone? I'd love to see him in one of these. Not to mention the late Shirley Walker's phenomenal score, and it has the tanning beds. And those girls. You remember them. You remember their type. Ah, the tanning beds. Paris Hilton clones burning alive to the strains of Roller Coaster of Love by Tommy Lee. What could be better? One of those two actresses, Crystal Lowe, is great here, and in another Morgan Wong flick, their remake of Black Christmas. She's great there, too. I was hoping she'd get to Scream Queen status, but she seems banished to Hallmark Christmas movies these days. Remember those aloof goth kids? They were actually funny. That's Morgan and Wong again. Their dialogue is always sparkling. And it has the fucking roller coaster, which is a great sequence. And if you go on YouTube, you can watch all the behind-the-scenes shit where they built their own roller coaster, which is also pretty fucking cool. I mean, it would suck if you were one of the actors, but I'm not. What I am is in love with this movie. It is a perfect combination of the first two films. The wit and character depth and emotion from the first, matched with a bravura, unhinged approach to kills that they took from the second. I'm sure you're all burning through the catalog as this new one is released, and I commend you for it, but if you're only going to watch one again, or if you've never seen any, start at the top. Final Destination 3. And that's going to do it for the Roundup this week. Make sure you tune in Friday. We've got another, well, honestly, it might be Tales from the Dark Side. It might be Thunderheart. I haven't decided. You're at the whims of a madman, listeners. If you want to support us here at Midnight Viewing, patreon.com/Father Malone. There you'll get episodes early and subscriber-only episodes. But if money is tight, and it's getting tighter, just like the show, or give it 5 stars, or write a glowing review, or recommend it to your friends. Particularly if that friend is about to take a flight or go on a road trip. Surely those will end well. For Ripley Jean, I'm Father Malone. Here's a bit from Final Destination. Which one?
You figure out the design, you can cheat death?
Alex, you've already done that by walking off the plane. Your friend's departure shows that death has a new design for all of you. Now you have to figure out how and when it's coming back at you. Play your hunch, Alex, if you think you can get away with it. But remember, the risk of cheating the plan, of disrespecting the design, could incite a fury that could terrorize even the Grim Reaper. And you don't even want to fuck with that, Mac Daddy.
Okay then, well, I'm sorry we broke in and...
No harm, no foul. I'll see you soon.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies, inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and an opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.